Dragons split up,
Yep.
and you went back to Japan.
Yep.
Where were you mentally?
So
Were you like, oh, my dreams are
No.
crushed, or I just gotta do what I gotta do to live?
when I was so going back, so Dragons broke up September of 2004,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
fall of 2004. So then a little before that, January of the Bronx already kind of had
You played with the Bronx.
Yeah, I jammed with them.
Did they open up for the Dragons?
Well,
or
no,
vice
no.
versa?
The Bronx first club show was at the Troubadour, and it was on the same bill as the Dragons. It was like an opening band, Bronx, us, and Dwayne Peters' band. One of his
okay.
bands. And then at that point, Bronx were already getting scouted by major labels. But then they put out Bronx put out their first album, and then I went and jammed with them. But they were such a young band because they were thinking of adding another guitar player, but it just didn't happen. And then the Dragons broke up, and I went back to Japan, and I was jamming with friends and stuff. And it was fun. It was fun living in Japan and, not having to go to practice 3 times a week.
Now, your parents were here, right?
Yeah.
So why did you go back to Japan?
I've always wanted to go back to Japan. That was my, when I moved here in 80, when I was in high school, 87, 88, I was so sad about moving here that I was always wanting to go back.
Oh.
I've always liked everything Japan, So I go back, work at a record label, translating, having fun. But I miss playing. So I was there for 2 years, and I was like, I was there for 2 years, and there was kind of the visa kind of stuff. Because at that point, I had a green card in the States. So when you have a green card, you could only leave for 6 months. But I signed up so I could leave for 2 years. And I would have to renew, or I just have to get out of Japan once and then go back type shit. But it was, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, what should I do? Should I go back to the States? Should I stay here? But at that point, I was like, oh, I'm probably going to stay in Japan. But then right when I was thinking that, June of 2006, and I was coming up on 2 years, Bronx, Jovi emailed me, and he was like, hey, man, we're coming out with our album, and we're going to go full on tour if you want to join, if your mind's still at the same place. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it,
And was that scary? Because you're leaving.
Of course, I was already like, fuck, I'm fucking leaving Japan again. I always not regret, but I always miss the stuff. When I get to Japan, I'm like, first when I come to the States, I'm like, oh, fuck, I miss Japan so much. Then I moved back to Japan. I'm like, oh, I miss the fucking sunny San Diego weather. And then now I'm coming back. But at least I was coming back for something.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to really do. So.
Was it always your dream to be a guitarist in a?
Of course, everyone wants to be in a huge band. But I just wanted to make a living out of it. I just wanted to. I didn't have to make $5 million. I just had to make enough to eat, enough to pay rent, enough to put gas in the car and buy guitar strings.
And you couldn't do that with the Dragons. You had to have a side job for that. But the Bronx were able to
full-time musicians.
Do it.
Yeah. So it was cool to come. I came back, practiced for 2-3 weeks, and then we went on a 2.5 month tour. We left September 1st, and I came back November 15th.
And that was the longest you've been on the road up till that point?
Yeah. So that was cool.
Was that shocking, or was it an adventure? Was it cool? I mean,
no, it was the getting into Bronx. It was kind of a little taking used to getting to play that style of music too, because Dragons are kind of loose rock and roll, where Bronx is more tight, tight punk rock, and I kind of I've worked hard at that. That was a little different, and then the Dragons had a van, but the Bronx had a van and a trailer, and then We did the States. We did the States for a month. Opened up for Macedon. So that was like pretty big stages. And then straight from Macedon, we went to England for a headline to England, Europe. First time over there, toured over there for a month and a half.
What was it like being there for the first time?
It was awesome. I mean, I read so much magazines and stuff, so like, we'd go over there. I was like, oh yeah, fucking fish and chips, right? Like, Indian food is really good here, But there was stuff, I wasn't used to, not used to, but that was new, obviously, But yeah, it was cool. But that was my first tour bus too, in England,
Oh, that's right.
Get there, a tour bus picks you up,
Pretty cool.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, that was fun, Yeah.
So that was touring for the second album, and you played a couple songs on that album.
I didn't play.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah. On Wikipedia says I played.
Yeah, yeah, that's wrong.
It doesn't. I didn't. I played. I started on 3.
Okay. And were you official member when?
Yeah. Well, they said, when I was joining, Joey was like, oh yeah, we didn't ask anyone else. We're just gonna ask you, and we want you to be like a member, not just a touring, guitar player. So that was cool.
And it turns out,
so I've been
over what, 20 years?
18 years.
18 years, and so Matt and Joby are been in the band longer than you, but you're next.
I'm the third, yeah.
Yeah, you're the third. So
yeah,
you got seniority over
me.
Everyone else.
I joined, and then our bass player, the original bass player, quit a year after I joined, and then Brad joined. He's from Louisville, Kentucky, and what was cool was, so when I first joined, like the week before I came, they played on a TV show, like a Fuse TV or something like that, one of those mid-2000s music shows, and they were asked to do acoustic songs, like unplugged, and then
which is weird for the
so Joby was like, right? Well, it's weird doing punk songs unplugged. It's just playing punk songs on acoustic guitar. But then he was like, oh, let's try to do it mariachi style. So they got like a couple mariachi instruments, and it really wasn't a mariachi at that point, but that thought sparked in his head. And then like a year when Brad joined, we put out the word that we were looking for a bass player, and they were like, hey, there's this dude that plays bass and plays trumpet. And that was, we were already like thinking about doing the mariachi stuff, so that was, things like that kind of work out, right?
Which is funny because that was another one of my questions I was going to get to later. El Mariachi, did they? So I guess there was another bond with that because the Dragons did El Mariachi every year.
Different,
did they know about that, or
I don't think they knew about it. Because Texas Tornadoes was like rock and roll with accordion.
Yeah.
It was like loose, singing in Spanish, but Bronx we do like full on mariachi style, no electric instruments, it's all traditional instruments, and we play it traditionally, so it was way different,
And so that just kind of germ generated from playing acoustically.
Yeah, so
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, so then
the whole thing.
They're like, Joey was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and he wrote 3 songs, and then Matt sang on those 3 songs, and then I was like, oh, this is gonna be kind of cool, and then we brought in Vince, who plays Vince Hidalgo, he plays the Mexican bass, the guitarón, and he kind of taught all of us how to play the Mexican style guitars, So that's where it kind of all started out. And then me and Joby were playing these Mexican instruments, nylon string guitars. Vince was playing the guitarón, and we had Brad, who plays trumpet now, So we had a mariachi band.
Did they have like managers and?
There's a big.
Say, oh, here's what you can expect. Here's what blah blah blah. And
Bronx is, we had a big management. We had a big booking agent. We had, a tour manager. When we toured, but Bronx always kind of just did their stuff on their own, you know. It was kind of like, you know, it wasn't like the manager saying, you got to, you know, do this, you got to do that. They'd advise us, but, you know, it didn't really happen.
So is El Mariachi bigger than the Bronx?
I don't know.
Because you played TV. You've been on all these TV shows.
Yeah, we did all the late nights. It brings a lot of different, like, thing, you know, like we did Glastonbury. Like Bronx never had done Glastonbury. And a lot of the mariachi fans don't know
the Bronx.
The Bronx.
Wow.
You know, they don't find out, you know.
Wow.
And then the Bronx fans usually know the, you know, mariachi band, you know. But it's funny, like when we do Bronx, people are like, "Oh man, where's Mariachi El Bronx? Mariachi, when are you guys gonna do that?" And when we do mariachi, everyone's like, "Where's the Bronx? I want to fucking jump, you know, go crazy. Where's, you know, when you guys coming with the Bronx?" So it's always that.
So tell me about playing David Letterman and Jay Leno. You played both. Jay Leno, I hear, goes into your dressing room and says hi, and David Letterman won't even let you.
You can't even look at him.
Yeah, yeah. Is that all true?
Jay Leno was cool. It was like, you know, we get there like 8 a.m. We hang out in the green room and we sound check, video check. It's, you know,
8 a.m.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, be here like 8 or 9 a.m. But because we do everything ourselves. Usually, bands that go on TV, that they usually have like a big crew that does that for them, right? But we just show up with our little acoustic guitars and we hung out. And yeah, it was cool. It was like, you know, sound check, camera check, you know, hang out, you know, and then
do they tell you how to look at the cameras and how to?
Not really. I mean, they probably
just do what you do. And
yeah, I don't remember. They do that at the camera check. They're like, you know, they kind of see us doing something or standing where we stand, and then they're like, okay.
At this point, we're going to have the camera on.
Yeah. And then, you know, at like 5 p.m., they do the whole show, and then we go in there and play. But yeah, so Jay Leno, we did Jay Leno twice, and both times he came in and shook our hands. Thanks for, you know, even if he didn't mean it, you know. Yeah. He came in.
That's pretty. Who were you on the show with? Did you get to talk to the guests or anything?
I can't remember who was on. It was someone pretty famous. I can't remember the Jay Leno one. I remember. One was we did Conan O'Brien and was Joey Tribbiani from Friends. That was cool.
Now, are you nervous when you know you're going to be on TV like that, or you've been doing it long enough?
I think the mariachi stuff.
You know it's special though.
Yeah, mariachi stuff. It's a little more nerve-wracking, I guess. I'm not like, you know, shaking, but it's like, oh, we got to do it right, you know. Because you could do it, if you fuck up, you could do it again. But, yeah. But you want to do it on the first one, right?
Yeah, you want to look like a pro.
We did that, you know, we're fine. We didn't have to redo it, but you think about it a little more, you know.
So what was David Letterman like?
David Letterman, he doesn't, so we get there so early, and then we're just like in this little room like this big, and we're just sitting there waiting, and then we finally like set up. We go to like the liquor store. What was the next door neighborhood liquor store?
Oh, where that guy is?
Asian guy.
Oh, yeah.
I was going and I went in there a couple times, and then the dressing rooms were like so small. And I think the same time we had Jeff Goldblum maybe, and a sports guy. And then we just set up, sound check, and we play. And that's it. And he got off, and then he walked in between me and our bass player, and then he saw the big bass, and he was like, I forgot what he says. He's like, oh, that's big, or is that your? So he says that to every drummer. He goes, is that your drum set? If you go on YouTube, there's a compilation.
Oh, really?
David Letterman going, is that your drum set? Is that yours? But to him, he goes, that's pretty big. Is that yours, or something like that? So he was like, he just went. I was like.
So do you see a big bump in attendance after you play these shows, or it doesn't seem to matter?
Not really. But funny enough, when we did the
Lucha.
when we did David Letterman, we did the show, and then we went out, and then me and one other guy got back to the hotel, and then we got in the elevator, and he goes, hey, you were on David Letterman tonight. And then we were on the plane back, and then the guy next to us, he was like, "Hey, I saw you guys on
wow. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
But so if that one guy saw us,
yeah, a lot of people.
Those two guys saw us. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it came into album sales and something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know how.
I think both Bronx and Mariachi do the same amount of sales. It's not really big difference. And now it's a lot of it. I think our stuff is usually half and half digital, half physical, because we do vinyl too. So
yeah. So
we did the late nights.
Yeah.
Conan was the other one. I think
he was pretty cool. He would come up.
No, Conan didn't come and hang out with us. Yeah.
Wow. Because he seems like a geek, man of the people or something. He's always at Comic-Con walking around.
Conan twice, but he was like hanging out with the band. He plays guitar, so he was like playing with the band, and we were like in the green room.
Oh.
His green room was pretty fun. He had a lot of little toys and shit, guitar amps and like massage chairs and all that.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that was cool. Kristen Dunst was the other guest.
Oh, okay.
Kristen Dunst, Joey from Friends. It was kind of funny because I was like a big fan of Friends, so Matt bought me a Friends T-shirt for pajama, like I wear it for pajama or whatever. And he was like, "Wear that shirt under your mariachi shirt." And when at the end when they come and shake, everyone comes out and shakes